Vladimir Putin would probably love to be back in the USSR, and according to polls, so would around 60% of Russians. But if communism had survived and the Soviet Union was still around, there would still be a crisis in the Ukraine. Why? Because nationalism has always been a problem in the East. All communism did was hide it for 70 years. You see, the Soviet Union didn't just break up because communism produced more tractor parts than food, it also ended because national minorities within the USSR threw off decades of suppression. Russia's communists were also racists. From 1943 to 1949, Stalin deported almost 1.5 million ethnic minorities out of their homes in the southern USSR. Native languages were suppressed in the Baltics, millions of Ukrainians were starved into submission in what locals regard as a genocide. Fast forward to the 1980s, and much of the opposition to communism was expressed through national revolts. When Gorbachev announced the dissolution of the Soviet Union in 1991, it was that or send in the troops to crush the locals. So Ukraine finally got its freedom. But here's the problem. Lots of ethnic Russians suddenly found themselves living in foreign countries, including about 17% of the population of Ukraine. Some Russians in the new countries arbitrarily declared themselves independent. Transnistria, for example, is squeezed between Moldova and Ukraine, and as far as they're concerned, the Soviet Union never ended. They still fly all the old flags, and their major national industry is arms smuggling. So for those Russians now abroad, the memory of the Soviet Union became a memory of the time when they were united under the leadership of Mother Russia. And a lot of Putin's foreign policy is about establishing a new ethnic hegemony in the region. He wants to restore that sense of pride that Russians lost when their Cold War ended, when their country was pillaged by capitalists and the standard of living nosedived. The problem, of course, is the only way he can do this is to redraw the map of the East to make more bits of it red. Russian imperialism. If communism had collapsed, would the bloodshed have been avoided? No way. The Yugoslav Republic did its best to stay alive after the end of socialism, and it became a system within which different ethnicities competed to oppress each other. And the same would have happened in the Soviet Union. The desire for Russians to be great again is simply incompatible with the desire of its neighbours to be independent. And therein lies the roots of the crisis. Vladimir Putin was serving in the KGB when the USSR collapsed. He's a product of the deep Soviet state and was famously quoted as saying that there is no such thing as a former agent. Clearly, as far as Vladimir Putin is concerned, there's also no such thing as a former Soviet republic.